Well, again, good morning, everybody. And a special welcome to any of our visitors that we have with us. For visitors who are not members of our parish, I have to give a bit of a disclaimer because today's message is more directed to our registered parishioners here, but you still might benefit from it. In the month of April, which is next month, we're going to be conducting a parish-wide census update, which means that we have to update the records of our parish database. Some of our information for you is out of date. Wrong addresses, wrong phone numbers. You've had more kids since you first registered. And some people have either moved away or passed away. For all of these reasons, we have to update our records. So before and after Masses throughout the month of April, you'll have the opportunity to come and visit our hospitality ministers and update your records. And if you're not registered with us, you can officially join at that time. Now, there are benefits to being a registered member of the parish. For instance, you have to be registered in order to be a godparent for baptism or confirmation. You have to be registered in order to get married in the Catholic Church. You have to be registered to have your kids in faith formation. And everyone's favorite, you get envelopes when you register. So with all that in mind, I'd like to dive into the question, more than a surface level question. What does it mean to be a registered parishioner? You probably never thought of that. For those of you who have been in LaPorte your whole life, you've always just been here. You come to church like everybody else. There's no thought to it. But maybe a better question is this. Why are you registered here? Why are you a member of this parish? You might have many different answers for that. But I want to offer one particular answer as to not why you are here, but why we are here collectively. What is our purpose? What is our mission? Why do we exist? Anytime you look at our parish logo, which on the cover of your bulletin, it's there as it is every week. Every communication we send out, every Instagram, every Facebook, everything that is sent out, it has our logo. And what are the 5 words underneath our logo? It is, be a family, everybody. Be a family, be disciples. That is our purpose of why we exist. That's why we're here. So that you can be a family together. That's why we introduced ourselves before Mass to someone around us. Catholics are well known for coming to Mass and sitting next to the same people for years and still not knowing their name. That's not a church, that's an assembly. We want to be a church. We want to actually know each other, people who are seated around us. Be a family. Be disciples means that you have a relationship with Jesus. Jesus is the center of your life, and so you follow him as the center of your life. But it doesn't just end there. It means that you can be a catalyst to help other people become disciples too. Because once God has changed your heart, now God can use you to help change the hearts of others. A heart who is transformed is a heart that can help transform others. A heart that has been redeemed from the mess that it is in helps to redeem others from the mess that they are in. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. But it brings me to another question. It's a follow-up. Is everyone equally engaged in the mission of this parish? Do you as a parish wish to be a family of disciples who then make more disciples? There's a thing out there in the business world that's called the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. It goes like this. Typically, 80% of outcomes come from 20% of causes. In business, 80% of your business usually comes from 20% of your customers. 80% of your sales comes from 20% of your products. And 80% of your work comes from 20% of your people. So do you think that the 80-20 rule might also apply to your typical Catholic parish? Sounds a little bit lopsided, but I guess I'll take it. If 20% of the people are actively engaged and do at least 80% of the work. According to Dynamic Catholic, that's not even close to reality. That's not the case. Dynamic Catholic says that in any given parish, about 7% of registered parishioners contribute 80% of volunteer hours in a parish. Also, 7% of parishioners contribute 80% of the parish's financial contributions. So basically, of 80% of anything that happens in the parish, it's done by 7% of parishioners. Now, does that sound a little lopsided? Okay. But that's just out there in general. That's normal Catholic parish. What about us? What does our parish look like? I'm a numbers guy, so I did some research into what our numbers look like. According to our database, Holy Family Parish, all the Catholics here who are registered in our parish in LaPorte, we have almost 4,400 Catholics registered here. I did not know that. That's a lot. I certainly don't see all those 4,400 people on Sunday. I see about 1,200 of those on Sunday, which is about 27% of our parishioners registered come to church on any given Sunday. In addition, about 200 of these people total are active volunteers in any one of the ministries that we offer. And about 450 people either volunteer or attend things like Bible studies, small groups, or other events. So out of all of our registered parishioners, out of the 4,400 in this parish, almost all of our ministry is done by the same 5 to 10% of parishioners. What about the other 90 to 95%? Is that even close to the 80-20 principle? What if 20% of our parishioners were actively involved? You'd see a massive, drastic change. But let's say we just increase that by 1%. That's 45 people. What if 45 people became more actively involved? Or what about 2%? That's 90 people. Do you see how small changes can make a huge difference in the life of a parish? I saw one of those changes happen within the last year, because I've gotten to know a lot of you a little bit more. About a year ago, I mentioned that I would be sticking around LaPorte for a few more years. The bishop assigned me to more of a long-term stay here. And so I said a year ago that I wanted to get to know you more. Lots of you have had me and Father Bill over for dinner at your house. And those have been very enjoyable. Some of my most memorable times here in LaPorte have been spent breaking bread with you. And it reminds me of why I became a priest, which is to deal with people and not just problems. And as much as I have gotten to know you and experienced your care and affection, unfortunately, there remain some disconnects in our parish. There's some distancing, there's disengagement here. So in my previous parish, I felt like I was always at the public high school. It wasn't a Catholic high school, but I was always at the public high school because I was constantly being invited to sporting events, not just by parents, but by the students too. Father Nate, are you going to come to our gymnastics meet this weekend? Father Nate, our soccer sectional is coming up. Are you coming? That was my way of getting to know them. That was the connection that our youth had in the parish. And I could root them on and encourage our students and support them. Well, I've been here in LaPorte for 4 years now. I haven't gotten a single invitation to any sporting event here in town. It's not meant to make anyone feel guilty. It's just not a thing here to invite your priest to stuff. I get it. But I share that because it demonstrates a very strong disconnect, especially between the parish and our youth, between the parish and our families. And especially since I went to these schools, I played on these sports teams, it's like there's this huge chasm that I have not encountered in any of the parishes that I've served at in the past. It's almost as if the parish is just irrelevant to our lives other than an hour on Sunday. Now, there are a few reasons why I think the engagement level in this parish is low. First of all, disengagement is part of a national trend. According to the Census Bureau, Americans volunteer less today than they have at all in the last 20 years when those numbers started being gathered. Secondly, a lot of you who were engaged in the past and are more seasoned parishioners are not able physically to be as engaged, and the younger generation simply are not making up for you. And thirdly, I think more relevant to our parish here is that we're one big parish now. We're not as tightly knit as maybe you were when we were 3 separate churches in your own small parish. And now you might feel more distant, and it's harder to identify with Holy Family Parish than it was with Sacred Heart or St. Joseph or St. Peter. So with all of those things, it makes sense why the level of disengagement would be increased over the last few years. Don't get me wrong, though. I'm not saying that things are bad in this parish. There have been a lot of great things that have happened. A lot of people have stepped up to the plate and have given themselves. We have so many ministers in this parish who pour out their hearts day in and day out to serve us. We pulled off the first parish consolidation in the Diocese of Gary. We were the first ones to combine 3 churches together. And we didn't close anything. Our churches are still open for Mass on Sunday, all 3 of them. And everyone seems to be getting along with each other. We have been very financially generous throughout all of this. And when there's been a need, you all have come to the rescue. And what other parish can say that it's actively exploring a potential Catholic school in its future? There's a lot of things happening here, and it's because of you. But the one thing that we never want to become is a consumer parish. Because in a consumer parish, we come to get stuff. In today's gospel, Jesus encounters a rather horrific scene taking place in the temple, his Father's house. People are buying and selling things. There's all kind of tables with money on it. And there's transactions taking place. What was supposed to be a place of worship has been transformed into a place of transaction, give and take. The people forgot that the main reason they were there was to have a restored relationship with God. And that can be a temptation in any parish, where we come to consume, get stuff, receive things from God. And true, God wants to give things to his children. That's why we're here. But he also wants us. He doesn't just want our stuff, and he doesn't want to just give us things. He wants us. And he wants you and me who have become engaged in the mission of this parish to now reach the disengaged. Because some of you are actively engaged. Well, there's a lot of people who are actively disengaged, who don't participate in the life of the parish, who don't have peace and joy in their life, who don't have God in their life. And that's our job, is to reach them. So back to those percentages. What if 1% of our parish became more actively involved? Or even 2%? Here are some ways. Our Glorify Night is this Friday. Come spend time with the Lord in prayer. Or maybe you can help us with our census update next month. Or maybe, since spring is already here apparently, you can help us with mulching and gardening around our churches to make the exteriors look beautiful. There are lots of things to be involved in here. And for those of you who maybe have done your time in the past and are a little more limited, we could still benefit from your support of our young people who need to see what it's like to be a strong, committed Catholic. You see what can happen when everybody becomes engaged in the life of this parish. Let's not be consumer Catholics. Let's not just be registered parishioners. Instead, let's be engaged parishioners. Let's take that 5 to 10% of people and let's grow it so that we can live up to our mission to be a family and to be disciples. Amen.